Hello. My name is Jennifer Drinka. I'm the director of the Antioch Public Library District. I'm here today with Brian Groth, my uncle, and my mother, Kathy Groth, which is my Uncle Brian's sister-in-law. The date is May 2nd, 2025, and we are in the studio of the Antioch Public Library District. This interview is being conducted for the Library of Congress Veterans History Project. So Brian also goes by Uncle B, so you may hear that in this. So Uncle B, where were you born?
Chicago.
Who were your parents and what were their occupations?
My mother, Margaret Groth, her maiden name was O'Malley, and my father was Henry Groth, and they lived next door to each other. My mother was in show business, and my father was a pharmacist. He was a pharmacy, but he went through all World War II, and then came out and he had a drugstore, and he died 6 months later from cancer. But he knew he had it too, right?
Yeah, and I think you were only 3.
I think I was 3.
He died when Brian was 3.
What did he do in World War II?
Pharmacist, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, he was with a hospital unit. I think Cook County Hospital Unit.
Oh, yeah.
Who were your siblings and did any of them serve in the military?
Danny and Maureen. And when Danny was in the National Guard, I think, or something
No,
like that.
Navy Reserve
Navy Reserve.
for 8 years. Yeah.
What are some of your favorite childhood memories?
Well, childhood memories. Playing sports, I would say. All the sports I played, and I liked it. I wouldn't say not school. That was not one of my favorites. I don't know.
Probably going down to Belding Park and playing there, right? The different things at the park.
Yeah. Alvin played around there. We play all this different stuff there. St. Ed's had about actually I played football for St. Edward's, and that was cool. And I played for football in grammar school and high school, so that was cool. I didn't go. I went 5 days in college, but I quit and got drafted right away to the Army. Did they ask me if I got drafted or not?
Yep.
Okay.
What were your parents and siblings' feelings about you joining the service?
I didn't join it, so I got drafted.
How did they feel about it?
I don't know. A little bit shaky, I think I would say.
I think they were I think your mother was upset,
Yeah.
It wasn't the happiest thing.
No, because
he went off to college and then decided not to stay, came back and got drafted.
Yeah. Right away.
Yeah, I think a month later.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask you a couple more questions about your life before being drafted, and then we'll go into that.
Okay.
What primary and secondary schools did you attend?
Just what's the name of them? St. Edward's. And I went to St. Edward's Grammar School and St. Patrick High School.
Oh, okay.
And then I went to 5 days in Tennessee Martin, but I quit.
Why did you quit?
I didn't want to go to school.
They had bugs. I remember this.
They had bugs.
They had bugs, and he didn't like the food. Then he got drafted and sent to Vietnam, where they had bigger bugs and worse food.
Yeah, right. But I just didn't like school about mainly. I was out of school and I was thrilled. I didn't want to go back to school.
What kind of jobs did you have before being drafted?
I worked for Commonwealth Edison. I had all kinds of paper routes, but mainly it was Commonwealth. Then in the summertime, I worked at Phillips Stadium, and I also worked at Bishop's Tree Service. I did a lot of little work, all over the place.
Can you tell us about when you were drafted?
I got drafted, just like what we were saying. I quit school. I didn't even go. I went 5 days, and then I didn't want to go to school anymore. So I just didn't go. Now, what was the other question, though?
Just tell us about when you got drafted.
It's 1966.
So maybe it wasn't right away, maybe it was a few months after. You'd have come back right in this fall, probably September or October, you were back home, and maybe you didn't get drafted till the next year.
No, I got drafted right away, about August. September 5th, I got out of the service, so I got drafted in September, in August, and you had to go in September 5th.
Maybe it wasn't till the next year then, though.
I think it was the same year.
How did you find out that you'd been drafted?
I got something in the mail.
When you were drafted, who did you leave behind when you left to serve?
My mother, I guess. That was the most important person that I, yeah.
Which branch of the military did you enter?
Army.
And how did you get to your initial point of entry?
Entry what, into the Army?
Yeah, how did you get there?
They took us by trains, I think, and I had a pass. I had to go to Oakland first, and they automatically gave you like a pass or a note or something stating that you were in the service, that you're going to Oakland, and all this other stuff. So that was it. We didn't have, and in other words, we didn't have to pay for anything.
Were you on the train with people you knew?
Not really. Just we were all drafted or joined the service. But I probably did know some of the guys. Yeah, I was probably in basic training with them, and stuff like. Matter of fact, I know I was. Buckley was my son. He's nuts now, poor guy. But he was in there, and there was some guys from St. Patrick too. So I kind of knew a few people, but that didn't help me, I had a KP as soon as I got there.
What's that?
That was washing pots and pans, because I opened my mouth when I shouldn't have opened my mouth. They said, "Brian Groth?" I said, "It's Groth, KP." and then another one was. Did everybody get a mattress? I said, I didn't get one, KP. So, and then a guy comes in there and took the KP side and off his and put it on mine. So now I had KP 3 times in a row. I took that in the Army.
Oh, boy.
Oh, it sucked.
So could you tell us about your training?
Training was basic training is everything. Everybody had to go through basic training. I went through it, and then I had to go through infantry training. But I was in the hospital 10 days with the unknown disease. They didn't even know what it was. So they were thinking about redoing my infantry training, and I didn't want to go back over the infantry training. So they just taught us how to shoot guns and all this other stuff, throw hand grenades. It was different than basic training. Infantry training was a lot different.
What was basic training?
Basic training was they yelled at you a lot. They tried to make you understand what the hell was going on now, because a war was going on. So they didn't want to fool around. They told you right off the bat. They told you they were going to Vietnam. So they trained you in Fort Polk, Louisiana. I had to go for infantry training, and on every other street there was a sign of a Viet Cong with a bullet in his head or something like that. So they were all over the place. Pictures of them so you wouldn't forget.
And when you learned how to shoot guns and fire off grenades, where did you do that?
At a range in Fort Polk, Louisiana. And then we did that also in basic training, but not with M16s. We just started with the M16s in basic training.
What's your most vivid memory of your time in training?
Getting out of it. I don't know. Just because actually that's true. Because then we got our drill instructor became a real nice guy all the time. I had a drill instructor, it was like 8 weeks, and he was never a nice guy. But after we all graduated, he was a real nice guy. So that was a good feeling, You know? He took us up to this club, you know, and everything.
What'd you do at the club?
Drink beer and watch television, and it was like an outdoor club with not bullet, switch things on the wall and all that stuff, you know. Beer heads. What do you call it? I don't know what you call it, but it was real nice.
What was the best part of training?
The best part of training? Getting out of it again.
Graduating.
And what was the worst part?
Passing pads. JP was the worst. They don't even have JP anymore.
What's KP stand for?
Kitchen patrol.
Patrol. Okay. Kitchen patrol. Okay. Could you tell us more about your specialized training that you got?
Yeah, that was a lot of everything. This LP deal, listening post. We had to do that, but we didn't do it. You know, they said that we had to go out maybe 2 football fields and sit there with 3 guys and not say a word and just sit there. And then, you know, if we heard anything, we had a radio that we had turned down all the way, and that was really scary, especially when they left me alone, because they were supposed to make sure everybody was there. There was 4 of us. Actually, and I woke up. You had to sleep because you walked all day, you know, and you just could not go anywhere. You had to get some kind of sleep. So we took turns, you know. So these guys left, and I was sitting there by myself. I said, Richardson, Joe. And nobody answered. Richardson. Nobody answered. I'm looking around, and nobody was there. I'm thinking, oh, great. What happened to these guys? They get killed or what? You know, they left me here. I was kind of pissed. So I started walking. I didn't know I was walking the right way because I was just, you know, my head was going around, and I couldn't remember which way was which way we came or anything like that. So that was kind of scary right off the bat. But what was the question? What was the scariest part?
For this one, did you receive any specialized, or could you tell us about your special training?
Yeah, well, that was part of it. You know, we didn't even know anything about this LP deal until we got there. So we weren't really training. We weren't even trained for that. Most of the stuff that we did, we were never trained. You know, we were never trained for it. That's all on-the-job training, really. We never used anything that we were trained for, put it that way.
Let's see. What was the hardest part of the military lifestyle for you to adapt to?
I would say in the infantry, getting up at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, going off on whatever, you know, that was probably one of the worst things, you know, because we were so tired and everything else. And all of a sudden, you say, get up, we're going, you know. Now it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. We have to go because somebody was getting hit. And the 1st Air Cavalry was always, if somebody got hit, they sent in the cavalry, you know, and tried to help these guys out. So that was probably, it wasn't bad to help these guys out. It was good, you know, that we did all this stuff. But we get up in the morning, you know, that was, you know, we were sleeping on the ground, you know. So it was probably good in a way.
What was the easiest part of the military lifestyle for you to adapt to?
The easiest part? The chow eating. That was actually because we were so darn hungry, you know, that we didn't have any food, so we had to count on their food, you know, whether it was good or not. That was always our thinking is, I wonder what are we going to have to eat tonight, you know, or today or this morning. It turned out to be, you know, decent. Nowadays I think it's real good. I don't know what, but it's supposed to be. But I don't know if there was anything else. See any question again? Because there was one thing about cleaning your guns and stuff, cleaning your weapons. That was the main thing, you know. After you got everything cleaned, you were in good shape, you know.
Did you like doing that part of it?
Yeah, yeah, I did. You know, it was always good to clean your guns and stuff, you know, because You never know when you had to use them. And then in the beach, when we were in the, sometimes we had to walk along the beach. We had to stick stuff in the barrel because otherwise the sand would get in the gun. And a few other things they put in the barrel too. I don't know hear about that, but it was weird, you know. But you didn't want the sand getting in there. That's the main thing. And some guys use it even other than that. You know, anything could get in the barrel of your rifle or whatever kind of gun you were carrying.
So could you tell us about where you served?
What area?
Yeah.
Bong Song was one, and there's a few other villages. I don't remember if they had names, but I remember Bong Song and what was it? The river. At the Mekong. There was a few. We had a pull guard on Highway 1. Everybody had to do this infantry, guys. We had infantry companies, not even companies, but battalions, all down Highway 1. That was, Highway 1 went all the way through South Vietnam and North Vietnam. So we had to pull guard along there. And all these, like the 4th Infantry Division, a lot of these, Michael was in the 4th Infantry Division, Michael O'Malley. He went berserk. And they'd all come down the street, come down the road, you know, and we'd say, hey guys, how you doing, you know? And they came down with tanks. They had a lot of tanks. You know, I could end up in the tank. Every time you were in the infantry, you could have been in a tank. You could, you know, but I was put in that area with the helicopters. You know, First Air Cavalry was mainly helicopters, and a lot of the other ones were tanks and stuff like that. APCs, where maybe 6 or 7 guys would ride them. That's why I think most of these guys are dying today are these NPCs or RPCs, I don't know. They hit a lot of these mines, which is, I don't believe they do this, but most of these guys are all bandaged up and banged up because of that, you know. What they should have done was taking these enemies and put them in front of their Jeep and tell them to walk. Just walk. So if they hit any mines, the tank ain't gonna hit them, you know. So that would have been the right thing to do. Go on, you know, and see if they wouldn't go. And you know, there's mines out there. So, but I don't know what they decided to do, because so many guys were getting hurt bad, losing legs and arms and all this other crap. So they should have done something, but they never did anything.
So could you tell us some of your recollections of being in Vietnam?
That's scary. I was scared a lot. 90% of the time, or 80% of the time, something like that. Say that question again.
What are some of your recollections of being in Vietnam?
I've been in Vietnam.
You could tell her about the hoochie girls, or we'd call it the hoochie girls.
That's when I first got there, the hoochie maids. See, when I first got to Vietnam, I ended up in a real nice place. It was a 10th Aviation Battalion, and I didn't like it really, because if I was over in Vietnam, I wanted to go where there was action or something going on. I didn't want to come home and say, "Oh, I had it made," you know, or something like that. So I ended up in the first. I volunteered for the First Air Cavalry Division after I was in the service 2 months already, and I went there with a friend of mine from Texas, Mexican, Lee Nunez. And I came out of there. He was taking a shower. I said, "Hey, Lee," and he looked at me. He says, "So I know you?" He didn't even know who I was, and me and them were good friends. You know, and I'm noticing a lot of that now from guys. You know, I say, "Hey, how you doing?" And the guy would look out there, and I said, "Just leave him alone. You know, you don't know what's going on." But yeah, there was a lot of things. You know, just being with your squad was a good thing. You know, you had a lot of talking back and forth, whatever it is. You know, maybe when it was school before you got in the service, or if you had any kids, and you know, and stuff like that. Personal things, you know, family things. I started talking about. You know, it's kind of interesting, really.
How many people were in your group?
There was about. I think there was supposed to be about 11 or 12, but some guys got hit, you know, so that they had to go back to to the base camp or something like that. So sometimes there's only like 8 guys in a squad, you know. So we just had to do what we had to do. But in the company, you had four I don't know if it would be battalion or whatever, but you'd have 4 companies in a battalion, or I don't know what it was, and then there would be about 130 people in each camp in each company. You'd have regular rifle squads. You'd have two of them companies, and then you'd have a company. Then you'd have a company thing, but that would be all mortar squad, and our captain would be in there, and some infantry guys, and they were kind of like that. The captain was an idiot. We'd all get 2 big cans of about 5 gallons of water maybe once a week, and we were supposed to use that out of 11 guys, where this guy would use 3 or 4 himself, and he'd take a shower when he could, you know. And it was sucked. And he hated me and I hated him. Because I told him out on the radio, he was sit reps, they were asking for sit reps. And I was on guard, and I called him out. I said, negative sit reps, over. And he goes, okay. Then he asked me another question. He said, everything's okay, out. And he came back the next day. He said, who's the guy that was on the radio? And I said, it was me. He said, you're never supposed to say not off to me. I do that, you know. I said, okay. I'm sorry. And from then on in, and he didn't like me anyways. They don't like anybody that volunteers to go to a different army thing, because I volunteered to go to the 1st Air Cavalry, which they thought I was nuts, you know. But they don't like that, because they're saying that I don't like that company, that wherever they sent me, you know. And that's not what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to take what you got, you know, and do the best you can. So.
How did your wartime experience change you?
Maybe to look into things a little longer, you know, when I'm getting myself into, or something like that, which didn't work all the time. But something like that, doing things that I never did before, you know, something like that, and seeing my old buddies, and you know, that were. I just told Maureen there was a thing on TV last night about Vietnam, and Roger McGill is a friend of mine. He was on there. He said 10 guys from St. Edwards died over there in Vietnam. That's a lot of people out of one grammar school. So now I'm starting to learn who they are, you know, and that's kind of a bad feeling. Not a good feeling, it's a bad feeling. But I wonder how many guys made it back. You know, that's the other thing.
Or made it back whole, right?
Huh?
Or made it back whole.
Back home.
Well, they lost a leg or an arm.
Oh,
or
yeah.
So what kind of friendships did you form while you were serving, and with who?
A lot of people. There was a lot of people. But I didn't follow through with a lot of these people. Richardson was my machine gun ammo bearer. He got shot too. He got shot in his testicles and his butt. And I wasn't with him then. He was on Hawaii. He was going to Hawaii. They were going to take him out of the service. They came on the plane. They came on the plane and said, Gilbert Richardson. He said, yeah. He said, you're going back to the unit. And he called me. He was going, oh man, you know. But me and him got together, and he got married, and he invited me to his wedding, and I never went. And I still discussing. He was a surfer. He was like a professional surfer, you know. And I just never. That's one thing I'm pissed off about. I never went to that wedding, you know. I'm so disgusted about that. But the rest of the guys, some of them I didn't care for in our own squad. That was the closest guys to our was the squad. There was other companies in our battalion or whatever it was that we never even talked that much to each other. We never even found out what was going on, whether if somebody was killed or wounded or what. We just stayed by ourselves because we always had you know, be our company, be our squad. We had things to do other than go out And we had chow come to us about every 2 weeks, hot meal, you know. That's when we talked to each other. That was about it. And there was a dog there. We had a dog that walked right along with us at the chow line, you know. The dog was cool. I liked it. Everybody loved the dog, and he was a smart dog. You know, he could find North Vietnamese and Viet Cong just like that. You know. I don't know how he did it, the dog. You know, all of a sudden he'd be walking, he'd say, then we'd have to hold up the company, you know. And just hold up. We've got problems up here, you know. The dog goes nuts. He says, okay, just hold on and see where the dog is going. The dog starts going, you know, up further, stops, looks back at us. So we thought there was something there, you know, and there usually was. So we usually got out of there, out of that area, and then had it bombed, you know. We ordered from Navy ships out in the sea and airplanes and all this stuff to shoot, to bomb these people, you know. That was good. It was a good feeling, real good feeling.
What'd the dog look like?
German Shepherds. King, his name was King. Wasn't there a king on the movie? I think King in an airplane. Yeah, there was. Yeah, I remember that.
Did he sleep with the guys?
Yeah, but we didn't have him all the time. We had him when we went in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then when we didn't need him anymore, he went back to his house, you know, to his home or wherever that was, in the rear somewhere. But everybody loved the dog.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't have the dog, I don't know what we would have done.
Probably like a comfort dog, right? It made you feel more comfortable.
Oh yeah, definitely,
Wow.
definitely.
When you were in Vietnam, how did you stay in touch with family and friends?
Just letters. That's all we could do was letters. We didn't get letters for 10 days, you know. But that was the only way we could get in touch with. We didn't have phones like nowadays. There's a foxhole and you're calling your girlfriend, you know. I
There
think
were
that.
no phones, no computers, nothing like that.
We just had you know.
Yeah, we never talked to you once.
No.
Once you went there, no.
No, I don't know about R&R. I think you might talk to me on R&R.
Maybe then,
To
when you went to Japan, yeah.
What did you do for recreation or when you were off duty?
Up to you went from Vietnam.
Yeah, or what did you do for recreation when you were there?
Recreation.
When you had free time?
Okay. Well, we went to the clubs. They had clubs there. And we danced with the guys. Gender would dance. And then we'd, sometimes they would have shows, military shows or shows. We'd go to the shows, believe it or not. I remember watching that one movie with, can't think of the guy's name, and it was an on-K. We were watching the movies, all of a sudden bullets are going through the screen, you know, which is weird. And they had them all along. It was a valley. You know, it was a valley, and that's where our base camp was. On-K was our base camp. So when we went back there, I was only there when we got there and when I went home. That was the only time I saw the base camp, you know. You were in that base camp around the boonies, you know, most of the time, 95% of the time.
Do you recall any particularly humorous or unusual events?
Yeah, with this guy Underdo, he was a black guy, and they were playing cards from somewhere, I don't know where, and he called a pair of nines. I think it was a pair of nines, and a 6 turned around, it looks like a 9. So I was just sitting there, I said, you don't have a pair of 9s, you got a 6 and a 9. And he got up and he said, you're not playing, you son of a bitch, what are you talking about? I said, you didn't have it. He said, you're not playing. I said, shut up. So we got in a big fight, and I almost killed him. I strangled a hand around my neck. I could have broke his neck, you know. And then the weird part about this, you started something like that, you may sleep next to the guy. You know, you had to dig a foxhole. You couldn't dig a foxhole at night after. It would only be about that deep, you know, because you just couldn't do it. So the main thing was I had to sleep next to the guy sometimes. Then you sleep with one eye open and one eye closed, because now, you know, now it's going to happen, but he knows darn well if he did something to me, he'd be dead in a second, you know. But that was one of the times that I really didn't care. And then there was another time with Michael Alting. He played football for Purdue. This guy, he was a great big guy, and he stunk. He smelled. Oh God! sometimes you wake up and your head was between his legs or under his armpit. Oh man, this guy's terrible, you know. And he used to switch the watches. We'd have a watch from say maybe I'd have a time from 3 to 4, and then I'd wake up the next night. He'd have 4 to 5 and 5 to 10 or something. And Alton used to take the watch and turn it up. So he didn't have to go to bed. He went to bed, but got the wrong guy up, and he knew that, you know. So we were all saying, something's wrong here. So everybody, when they woke up, had to go report to Williams, our sergeant, you know. And something was screwed up because you noticed Williams had a watch that said like 4 o'clock, and the watch that the guy got said it was 5 o'clock. So, yeah, something like that. So that was, we caught him, in other words. No, that was really cool that we caught the guy. And all he was there. You know, he thought it was funny. But, you know, you get robbed out of sleep. You know, it's not funny. Not funny at all.
Now, Tommy shared some of the letters that you sent to my mom and dad. And you're a really good writer.
Really?
Yeah. You told a story about something that one of the people said to the sergeant. It was about that this guy, he was maybe 55 years old and kind of a real jerk. And do you remember that story?
Is that the guy that blew himself apart?
Maybe. It was like, well, you could tell us that if you like.
Well, that's the same guy we're talking about. He was about 55 or maybe 50 in his 40s, I don't know. But he was holding the C4 and he had taped up with tape. And it was compared to that wall right there. I was there in the mountains there, like bulldozers and stuff, you know, and the gooks were down in there. And he's got this thing and he's lighting it. And you lit the one side, you know, he's lit both sides, you know, because what happens is you lit the one side and you throw it down there, they just throw it back out. So he was lighting the second one. I said, get rid of it, get rid of it. Well, he never got rid of it. And it's boom, apart. And then, where's Sergeant Cobb? Where's Sergeant Cobb? I looked over there he is. Just the front was completely, nothing was there, you know. Then I was talking to this guy the other day, and he was saying, you know, by that story you told me, he said, you know, that guy must have flown right by you. I said, yeah. And I never thought of it, you know. He must have flown right by me when he blew himself apart and landed on the rocks about maybe 30 feet away, 30 yards away, something like that. You know, and I told him to get rid of it, but he didn't get rid of it, you know. And then another sergeant was, you know, so I tried to get him, you go in there, you can't throw water on these guys, you gotta get their clothes off. That's the main thing, you know, to get their clothes off. So the sergeant, we could do that too. He was a Mexican, but this guy we couldn't do it. He was kind of he wanted to be a big shot. You know, he became a big shot already. He got a distinguished service cross for this, and but he's dead. You know.
Yeah. I think there was something about people didn't like, there was a sergeant that people didn't like, and there was a guy that said, I hope we get attacked, because if we do, I'll kill you, and they won't know I did it, or something. He wrote a story about that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. How about, was there anything you did for good luck?
No.
No.
Nothing at all. We just prayed. Most of the time we did a lot of praying. I would have to say that.
What did you pray?
The rosary, anything. You know, Hail Marys, Acts of Contrition, anything that came to your mind. You know. Actually, and then when you went out in the field, maybe you were out you go out in the field for 2 or 3 weeks, and then you come back and pull guard around these LZs. Maybe they're special forces guys or Harvins, but you know, you'd be pulling guards for these guys, you know. And what was the question he had behind this guy?
What did you pray?
Oh, I pray. Well, that's about it. The rosary and anything that was Catholic. And then, I know what I was going to say. So when we'd go out in the field, they'd say, "Well, who wants to go to mass?" So the whole company wanted to go to mass, and they give us our last rites before we went out in the field. You know, so heck, yeah, everybody wanted to go there. You know, last rites, yeah, 130 some people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So some of the things you wrote about in your letters, where you wrote about like the ladies who would come and wash your clothes.
The
and
hooch maids. That's
so
when I
what-
first got there.
Could you tell us what they looked like and what they did?
They just like pointed hats on, and they all smell the same. They got a weird smell to them. Probably what they ate. And they all wear pajamas, like silk pajamas. You couldn't tell them from Viacom or not, you know. But they were nice people. They'd come in there and they'd clean their room and stuff like that. But I didn't have that. I wasn't there that long. I was only there for a month or two. But they enjoyed it. The guys like that, you know. But I didn't like the place at all, to tell you the truth. Actually, that's why I had 1049. That was for sleeping on guard, and we were all sleeping on guard. You know, we just made sure that the guy that was sleeping, that was with us, was awake. Well, half the time these guys weren't awake, so you try to stay awake, and you couldn't stay awake. And I remember we were both sleeping. This guy, and I don't know who. I think it was his turn to stay awake, and my turn to go to sleep. But when I woke up, I didn't have my rifle. Yeah, and I said, "Halt! Who goes there?" And he goes, "Specialist, is this your rifle?" Because he came out in our area and took the gun out of him. And I don't know. Gee, I'm in trouble now. I looked at the guy and said, "What did you go to sleep for?" You know. But that's why I had a 1049, and you dig holes. But I don't think you asked me that question.
No, you could tell me more about that.
That was terrible. Digging holes and this and that. But so because I got the 1049, I didn't get a lot of other stuff, you know. I didn't, you know, crazy things, you know. And so if something bad had to happen, I had to do it. My buddy Dave, that's what I met with Dave, on extra duty too. So that was something that, did you ever get a 1049? Yeah. So did I, you know. So that's not on a record, I don't think.
What's a 1049?
That's something that you were being arrested for, not arrested, but punished for, so they called that a 1049. And that supposedly went on your record, but it wasn't. I don't think it was ever on a record.
Could you tell us what is a foxhole?
Well, foxhole is something that was you were walking all day and you had to go somewhere, and you had to dig up. I think a foxhole was so if some kind of artillery or shells, would go by it, you could get into the foxhole. So they wouldn't hit you. But the foxholes were so deep, they wanted us to dig foxholes that you just couldn't do it. You know, they wanted us to dig foxholes like this, and the stupid captain wanted other guys to dig him a foxhole. I took him on, knocked him in the head. I hated that guy. Passion. But that was the real thing behind. Like, you could get down in the foxhole, so you could shrapnel would be all over the place. So you just get, you know, we got mortared a lot of times out in the field, and you could hear the mortars. You could hear them pop, pop. So when you heard that, you had to get down, you know, wherever you were.
Now, you also wrote in your letters about that you were building something, like you were doing construction.
That's when I first got there, we were building these buildings. They're like barracks.
Mm-hmm.
They were like barracks. I don't know what they were using the barracks for, but that's what we were doing, building barracks. We had a couple carpenters, union carpenters that knew what they were doing. So that was great for them. You know, they got everything because the guys knew what they were doing, you know. So the other guys, you know, we weren't too cool about building all this stuff, you know. We were carrying most of this stuff over there. But that's probably what I meant, building these things. And they look nice.
And now, there's something you wrote about the hooch maids, that their teeth were black?
Yeah. They're all the teeth, everybody's teeth, Vietnamese teeth were black.
You said they ate some kind of seeds?
Beetle nut.
Oh.
It's called beetle nut. They're always eating it, you know. I think it's some type of drug, to tell you the truth. You know, that they always probably mellow them out, you know. But a lot of them had gold in their mouth, too. Gold teeth. I don't
Gold
understand that.
black teeth.
Gold black teeth. Yeah, hooch mates too.
What about Christmas?
I was there on Christmas. You sent me a Christmas tree, didn't you? Or somebody sent me the Christmas
Somebody
tree.
did, yeah.
So I had a Christmas tree, and I had to hump the Christmas tree. It came in different parts, you know. So I said, I'm going to get rid of this Christmas tree. No, you're not. We're going to keep that tree, you know. So we kept it, you know. And it was kind of funny. You know, they have a Christmas tree out there in the woods, you know, with stuff on the Christmas tree, you know. What the hell? So we kept the tree for a while, and then just got rid of it after about the first of the year.
What did you put on the Christmas tree?
Ornaments that came with the tree, all kinds of stuff. So it was just like Christmas. They fed us good. They gave us good food, you know. But that was I didn't have any kind of time off for after basic training. I went right into infantry, so I got time off for infantry before I went to Vietnam. I think it was. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure about that. But when I came back from Vietnam, I had another 30 days I could, you know, that they gave me. So before I went into the regular army again. See, I had to go back into the regular infantry unit after I got out of the army. I got out of Vietnam. They put me in another infantry. That's what happened to a lot of these guys. We only had like 3 or 4 months left. We were a big pain in the butt with them because they couldn't put us back in Vietnam for one thing, and we had to go in an infantry unit. And then they had this big old fences put up, and we weren't allowed to leave the fences. So it was kind of a strange place to be at that time.
And now, in your letters, you also wrote something about that February 1968 would be the best. There was a day that was the best day of your life, and then sometime in September 1968 would be like the second best day of your life. Do you remember what those?
Well, the September, I just when I got out of the army, September 5th. But the other one, what was the other one?
February.
February. That was when I left Vietnam. And of course, that's when I entered Vietnam too. But that's when I got out of Vietnam. I was thrilled, and I had a R&R to Tokyo. That was the last one. They said, Brian, you got to go. I didn't want to go because I was afraid I'd never come back. You know, so the only place that's left for you to go is Tokyo. I said, Tokyo? I don't go to Tokyo. He said, well, you got to go. I said, all right. So I went to Tokyo for 4 days.
What happened there?
All these guys were going into these big hotels where there was a lot of women and stuff. So they had a good time. I was the only one that went off in my own direction. I went to the fruit markets and restaurants that nobody could speak English. So I ended up with a waitress, which is weird. But yeah, me and her started talking. I couldn't speak English. I couldn't speak anything with Tokyo crap, you know. But she couldn't speak English, so we had a good time together.
Is she the one you told me that you might have a baby with?
Yeah. Yeah, but she was so nice, you know, both of us, you know. That we were laughing because we couldn't understand each other, you know. So I had a good time there.
Mm-hmm.
And even going into this room, I remember you had to take your shoes off before you go into the school thing. And I never would do it. I probably was stiff, and I never took my shoes off. And I early in the morning, I hear bang, 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 and I thought, you left your shoes. You didn't take your shoes off. You didn't take your shoes off. Brother, I'm sorry, I didn't take my shoes off. You know, and but the bath was just a hole in the wall, in the floor, where you went into there and you stood in the bath. That's how you got cleaned. It was really weird, you know. But I liked Tokyo better than with these guys. They just went with a bunch of whores and stuff, you know. And they got drunk most of the time, or high and stuff, you know. And they had women. So, but I just wanted to go off, you know, my own self.
What was some of the food you had in Tokyo?
Just I don't remember. To tell you the truth. I think it was probably American food, because I was American, so they probably made me hamburgers, you know, chop suey. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah.
It also in your letters you write about you're thinking about your nieces and nephews back home, fishing,
Yeah.
how the building of the house in Antioch was going. What did that mean to you thinking about back home?
Just that I wanted to get back home and see all this shit was going on, and I wanted to go fishing, you know. And when I did get out of the service, I did go up. That was the first thing I did. I had my duffel bag and a couple of poles, and I went right down to the lake, put my poles in a bobber. I was sitting there, all of a sudden the bobber went under, and so did my pole. And that's when they first had salmon and all this other stuff. So I must have had a salmon on there, or coho, or brown trout, you know. It took my pole. I said, holy cow, they got something in this lake I don't know about. I always thought they had just perched and smelled, you know. I never had my pole back. But one time I did, though, when I was fishing. Later on, I remember casting out, and I was putting on some bait on my one pole, and I saw my other pole go into the lake. So the fish took my other pole into the lake. I went, oh, no, man. So I was there about 10 days later, I'm casting out, and I said, I got one. So there goes my pole. I got my pole after 10 years, and it's still got the fish on it. It's got a bullhead on it. I go, what? So the bullhead was swimming around with my pole attached to it. And then I brought it in, and I let the bullhead go. You know? That was really odd.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that
bowl
is-
was full of
that's
green
funny.
slime,
Mhm.
but I cleaned it all up. I still got it.
Mhm. What about when you said you would be in helicopters? What did you jump out of them, or
No,
what happened in the helicopters?
they just would fly us in the closest we could get, see if somebody was hit. Maybe somebody was hit, so they just would drop us off. Maybe we call them clicks. I don't remember how much a click. I think it was 1,000 meters. I'm not sure though. But and then we just work ourselves up to the point. They would tell us where they're getting gunfire from. So we'd call them coordinates, and they have the planes or Navy ships bomb this, you know, wherever they were at, and then we'd go in there, you know. But the helicopters were the only thing that could bring us in there. You could walk in there if you were, you know, way the hell back there, but you could walk. But the helicopters were good.
How was it flying in the helicopters?
Different. You know, sometimes I remember it must have been a cyclone or something. We flew in the middle of the helicopters were going like this, you know. And they said, hey man, you know, we talked to pilots were good. They're called they had a certain name I can't think of, but they were good, you know. I remember flying in this one, it was going like this. And the guy said, you guys all right back there? I said, yeah. He says, it's some ride. I said, yeah, terrible. You know, but the helicopters weren't bad at all. I didn't mind them at all. Sometimes you had to stand up on the skids, I think they were called, when you landed, so you could get off fast. You know, sometimes you had to jump 10 feet, you know, to get off the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
But what's his name? Remember what's his name? His last time going
Who?
around. The guy that lived next door.
Yeah.
He was the last time around with the helicopter, and they shot him down. He was the only guy that lived out of about 5, 6 guys.
Oh.
You probably knew the guy.
Jennifer wouldn't have.
No.
And then, could you tell me what Agent Orange is?
It's from killing all foliage, so so they wouldn't have a place they could shoot at us, you know. And going back to that again, we'd get out of there, and then they'd bring in the airplanes, you know. Usually Phantom just had, and come down and drop off bombs, or they get rid of Agent Orange. A lot of helicopters used to use that to get rid of the Agent Orange along the river, because they would fire at the boats going down the river. That's what John F. Kennedy was killed at, I think. I don't know, he wasn't killed there, but he was on the boat. I forgot what they call them. River boats, I think they were called. And they were deadly. They were scary. And they would use the Agent Orange. I don't know what it was made of. Some kind of the same stuff that what do you call it uses now? People that go out and cut grass and stuff like that. They use the same shit, so it kills all the foliage around, so you can see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So It's nasty stuff.
Yeah. And then, could you tell us about the packages you got when you were over there from back home? Do you want me to tell you about some of the things you wrote about and see if it strikes a memory?
Yeah.
You said that my dad sent you olives.
I loved olives. I don't remember the olives, but I remember I loved olives. You know?
What kind of olives?
Any kind, green ones, mainly green ones, I would imagine, with the red thing in them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Christmas tree,
Mm-hmm.
and but I don't remember. You know, maybe some kind of food, I would imagine, that I liked. You know.
Yeah, you said cookies,
Oh,
candy.
cookies. Of course. Well, the cookies I got was from my friend Duffy, his wife, and Dawn, my girlfriend Dawn. They all had joined the club, and they all took care of children. What do you call it when you take care of children? You go in there and you adopt the children. They all adopted children. There was about 6 girls in this thing. So Duffy's wife and this other one sent me cookies. And I never got them for about 6 months later. When I got them, they were loaded with ants. The whole thing, the box was loaded with ants. And I'm going, what the hell is this? So I remember after I was back, I was talking to this guy Duffy, and he says, yeah, my wife sent you some cookies. I said, was that your wife that sent me that? Oh my God, and I told him about all the ants, and he was laughing. I talked to him yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked anything that they sent me. Cookies were really good.
Mm-hmm.
And milk, we only had certain kind of milk that was terrible. So I don't think we got milk sent to us because that wouldn't last. But anything, any cookies, candy, something like that, you know.
What's your favorite candy?
Chocolate chips. Oh, candy?
Mm-hmm.
Musketeers.
Mm-hmm.
What's yours?
I think maybe a Score bar or Heath. You know, the toffee.
Yeah, I know what Heath are.
Yeah. What was the best part of your service experience?
The best part, getting out was the main thing. Everybody kissed the ground. That's the only thing I can think of, just getting out of that place. That shithole, we used to call it shithole.
You probably met some nice people, right? You probably had some good friends.
Oh, it's sure, yeah.
Do you recall the day service ended?
The my service,
Mhm.
yeah. Somewhat I do, because I remember they sent us to this one place that was called Indiantown Gap Military Reservation. It was in Philadelphia. It was only open for World War II GIs. Then because of Vietnam, they reopened this place, and it was quite a place, you know. And it was crazy. We had to throw coal in the thing, you know, and it was weird. They had bears out there. Bears would come to our chow line, and we'd all have to take off, run down the hill, and they left me there. These black guys left me there, and I'm wondering, hey, what are you guys going, man? They're running down the road. There's bears, man. There's bears. I'm looking around the church. There's bears. You eating their food, and I'm getting the hell out of here.
When you came home, how were you received by your family and community?
Real good. But when I got out of service, I didn't even know what bell bottoms were. Bell bottoms. I didn't know. And then the high shoes, they had platform shoes the guys would wear. I had a pair of sharkskin pants, a pair of sun's climbing shoes. They used to call them planet. And I remember people. I went and bought these shoes, and then I can't wear these shoes. So I brought them back to O'Connor and somebody. I said, I can't wear these shoes with my clothes. He says, why not? I said, because they look silly. They look silly. I said, yeah. I said, I just got out of the Army. And he started laughing, you know. I said, oh my God. So he got all the people that worked there came over to me. They said, look at this guy. He's saying his shoes, he don't like his shoes because he was in the Army and he'd never seen them before. And bell bottoms either I never saw, you know. All my friends wore bell bottoms. So of course I had to go out and buy bellbound, you know.
How did you feel when you saw your mom?
Oh, fantastic. Really great. It's hard to get me sad right now just listening to it, you know. But everybody was there. Uncle Vince was there. And yeah, that's my mother's brother. Or Vince, yeah, my mother's brother, Vince. And they had all kinds of people there.
I know our folk, we were all there.
How did the kids look from when you left to when you come back?
Geez, I don't remember. Probably different, a lot different. You know.
How did you adjust back to civilian life?
Everything was new to me, you know. So I just went along with the program, and whatever happened. Now I was 21, I could go in the tavern. I got out of the army when I was 21, so I go to the tavern. He goes, "You're 21 now, aren't you, Brian?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What do you want?" So he gave me free drinks, you know. All the guys that got out of the army would just take turn 21 or 20, you know, which was kind of strange, but that's the way it was, because we all got drafted when we were real young. Some guys got drafted when they were like 18 years old, you know. But whatever.
What did you do for work once you were back home again?
Well, I still had my job in Commonwealth Edison, so I had 2 or 3 weeks in order to go back there and get my job back. So I had my job. So back when I got out of there, which was pretty cool. Then when I came back, everybody was going, "Hey, how was Vietnam? How was Vietnam?" Because there wasn't too many people that went to Vietnam from Commonwealth Edison. You know, they were either married or something or other. You know, something was wrong with them. But I was perfect meat.
How did the service change you?
I don't think it changed me very much, to tell you the truth. Just maybe the stuff that I was doing, I liked a little bit more. I liked a lot more than than the service. You know, so a lot of simple things I really like. I like going by love going to go fishing. You know, that was my main thing. Because I think I don't know if I had a car though. I know I sold that Oldsmobile when I was in the army, so I don't know if I had a car.
I don't think you had a car when you left, or if you did, you got rid of it. And
I did get rid of it. It was an old '56 old convertible.
so you probably bought a car soon after you came home. I'm sure you did.
Yeah, because I know I went down to the lake with all my stuff, so I had
Yeah.
to have a car.
And to get to work, because you worked from California, right out of
Yeah,
California.
right.
You probably had a car right. You probably didn't go back to work for like a month or something.
No, I think I had to go back in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I believe so.
So during that time, you must have bought a car. I'm
I would
sure.
imagine just to have one.
Yeah.
Did you continue any friendships after the service?
I called up a few people, but I never really seen them at all. Just like that one guy, I think he's dead. I think he died. Was I with you when we were looking at pictures of professional skiers?
Yeah, I think
And there-
so.
He didn't even look like himself. But I kind of was talking to him a lot, but that kind of fizzled out, you know. And that's what happens when you go away somewhere. You know, you meet your friends and they're real close, you know. But now you're going home and that's a lot different than that, you know. So.
Right. Everybody goes back to their own life, whatever it is. They might have a girlfriend or
Yeah, right. Or whatever.
get married, whatever.
How did the service affect the way you relate to others?
So maybe I thought that they really didn't know. You know, they just didn't know because a lot of them were against the war and something like that. So they just didn't know what was going on. You know, to tell you the truth.
Right, I'm sure.
How did your military service experiences affect your life?
I don't know. think of any way I could think about it.
Well, I think, because you've got your pension from Agent Orange, so it affected
Yeah.
it affected your health.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. Something like that.
And what are some life lessons you learned?
Uh, You ask me all these questions, I don't know the answers to. Say that question again?
What are some life lessons you learned?
Life lesson. Huh. Stay away from guns.
I think when you came back,
Right.
you were kind of not afraid, let's say, but you were very leery of who's around the corner and who's,
Possibly.
you know, when he first came home, he was. Because
Sure, yeah, I
over
was-
there, you
I
have
was-
to be on alert all the time,
Yeah.
and you come home,
Right.
you're still
I
on
was
alert.
afraid to go out, because I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
I just didn't know what to expect once I got out of service, I didn't know what to expect. I know somebody wanted to come up and club me over the head or shoot me or what, because there was a lot of crap going on during that time. Nobody knew what the heck was going on. They called it baby killers and all. I didn't understand a lot of that stuff. I don't know why they even got into it.
How has your military service impacted your feelings about war and the military?
Well, I think we got to have the militaries, definitely, but say that question again.
How has your military service impacted your feelings about war and the military?
Well, I don't believe in war. I think there's a lot better way of getting straightened out, things straightened out other than a war. You got to have the right people there doing the right stuff. And because war is not going to get you. People are just going to die and this and that. So every time I think of that, I go, oh, no, not this again. More people are going to die, and so some of these lifers, they like that. They've been in the service for 30 years, 20 years, and they like that. They like wars and stuff like that. Whereas if some guy gets drafted, he wants to get out of there. He's afraid he's going to get killed. So,
What message would you like to leave for future generations who will hear this interview?
just use it as much as you possibly can, and use your own brain. You know what your own brain is, and do what you think is right, not what other people tell you. There's a lot of things,
And then just a few questions to kind of wrap up. Is there anything you'd like to add that we haven't covered?
Money, I suppose. I didn't have much money, because you didn't get much money over there. You got, I think they gave you bonds or something, they were worth like about $25. You get one every month. So you didn't really have any money, You had a little bit of money, maybe a couple $100 or something like that, but that wasn't going to last long. So going back to work was a good thing for me. A lot of guys didn't go back to work, So I feel sorry for those guys because they couldn't do it, They just had no money. And I have a friend of mine that was, I didn't realize it, but he was from Seattle, I think, or somewhere in Seattle, and he was a heroin addict. And I had no idea. And what his job was at a helicopter. He was a chief helicopter mechanic, and he would fly with the major. And my friend Dave was a door gunner on this thing, and I couldn't believe this guy. He kept re-ing up just because he got heroin, And then finally, I called him up and we got a hold of his mother. His mother said, "Don't ever call up here again. I don't want anybody to talk to my son. He's no good son of a bitch, and he's in jail. That's right where he belongs." So he got caught robbing the place, And it really blew my mind. I never knew that about him, But he was such a nice person too, So, but then what happened was he got caught stealing something, probably with guns, and he was a thief. He turned out to be a thief. And thieves are murderers, because if they get caught, they're going to kill somebody before they go to jail. That's my idea, you know. And I don't know what happened to him at all. I never called him back up. Dave might have called him up, my buddy Dave, because they were good friends. I don't think Dave was a heroin addict. But there were a lot of heroin addicts there, I would say.
Is there anything you've always wanted to share about your service or veteran experience that you never have?
Just this one thing about when coming over here. There was this thing on TV last night. I don't know if you saw this about Vietnam. This guy, McNulty was there, and I knew him, you know. And he said, I was at the wall with it, and he said, Brian, you weren't overrun. You were never overrun. I'm thinking, I know that. And he walked away, you know. And I'm thinking, what did he say that for? You know, I was never overrun or anything. I was pinned down where I couldn't move, you know. But that's never happened to me, you know, that was overrun. And them guys that were overrun, really, they had it bad, you know. They were probably pretending like they were dead half the time, you know.
What's it mean to be pinned down?
Well, so there was a guy in a tree at that time, and me and George were down there laying on the ground. There was a tree down, and we were like hiding behind a tree, and there was a gook up in the thing, and he knew where we were at, and he kept shooting at us. And I was telling George, we got to get out of here, man. This guy knows where we're at, you know. So somebody shot him with a hand grenade, M79 grenade, and he just shot the guy, and then grenade going off in his head. So that was it. So
What does it mean to be run down?
Did I say run down?
Or run over? Or
You said pinned down.
Pinned down.
yeah, but the guy said you've never been.
Oh, run over. But
What
that
does
means
run
like
over
an
mean?
LZ or like some type of a camp where everybody was. It was like a stationary camp. Like on K, when you first went into a place, you had to go to a base camp, which is, you know, where everybody would get their stuff again and go back out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
But and then those places, they all got together, the gooks all got together, and they would run over there, throw hand grenades and this and that. It would last maybe, sometimes, you know, 2 hours, 3 hours, and it was over with. But, you know, they get out of there real fast. Go in and get out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like these guys on TV, you see them robbing these stores. You know, they go in and they go out.
Mm-hmm. What would you like people to know or remember from your story?
That I was honest and that that's the way I thought things were, you know, and stuff like that.
And I think, to me, the big thing that comes out of your whole story is that you think we should never have war.
Well, at first, it would change back and forth, you know, but then, you know, I start thinking about what are we getting out of this thing, you know, over there? What is this? You know, all the 57,000 kids were dead, you know.
Dead, and what do we get, right?
What did we get?
For what, right?
For what exactly? And now they're going over there for having, you know, vacations, you know.
Right.
But now they may use the Vietnamese.
And it doesn't solve any problems at all. Makes more problems, I think. Wars make more problems.
And listening to it seems like they would send the youngest and the healthiest.
Yeah.
So they'd send the very best.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right in the head.
Rather than
And how many of them are dead?
That's
or,
why
or missing arms and legs and.
That's why they drafted them so young, you know, because they were up there. Their mind was, that's what I want to do. I want to go there for this country, you know. Whereas this country isn't doing much for them, you know. But I suppose it is and it isn't, you know. But for some of these guys, it isn't. They want to go, and then once they're in there, they want to get out. Like me.
And is there anything else that we should talk about that we haven't covered?
Just that when people, like, when they get into this war trap, they should look into it a little bit more than what they're looking at. They think everything is so so good and perfect that the United States is doing the right thing. Instead of looking at things, why are we over there? What are we doing? What are we doing to help other guys? And the South Vietnamese, they don't want to kill anybody either. So I think that something like that, that they better look into something. Of course, with this president we got now, who knows what we're going to get into? He's a draft dodger for one thing. He shouldn't even be a president.
Right.
He
That's right.
shouldn't be because that's one of the problems. I can't understand how these GIs are even doing anything for this guy. To tell you the truth, I have no idea what
I
they're
don't
doing.
know how they could even salute him.
Yeah.
Why, because I wasn't alive during the Vietnam War, why did the Vietnam War happen?
I don't even remember. We wanted
Communism.
something we wanted from
Communism.
them.
Communism. That was our main reason why we went over there, supposedly, to stop communism. And that was one of the deal that I kind of like. Communism. These guys are over here and we're way back there. How can we be fighting for these guys when they're fighting for communism? What are they going to do? Turn us into commies? I don't think so. So that was the reason, I believe, that we went over there, which is a stupid reason. And we had some generals that were stupid, put it that way. Like this General Westmoreland, he was one of the goofiest generals in the whole world. He's the one who had all those guys killed. He wanted, I was listening, he wanted 200 and some thousand more kids over there because the Tet offense was going on. It was a terrible place. My unit went up there, and he wanted 200 and some GIs over there, and Johnson sent like 2,000. And so Westmoreland was really peeved at that, and I couldn't stand the guy. And then they had this parade, and everybody was saluting everybody when they got in front of mess with Westmoreland. Everybody gave him the finger, That's what he was such a rotten bastard that he was even smiling when the parade was going, and the parade was cool, And then when they got by the generals, God, they hated him. I still do. I still don't like him.
And then just one more question, and I thought we'd look at your pictures. What do you wish more people knew about veterans?
That they're just like any other people, actually. And when they want something or need something, help them out. Just help them out. You don't have to go out of your way, or just help them out and listen to them. That might work. A lot of these veterans are so screwed up that they don't even know who they are, what they're doing. Just tell them, "Fat, get away over here." I was watching TV and this one guy was talking. He was talking to this guy. He said, "Yeah." He said, "You were over in Vietnam, weren't you?" He said, "Yeah." And that's all he said. He just went out in another world. Like this guy I told you about, Lee Nunez in the bathroom. He didn't know who I was. It was unbelievable. And as you think about it, it's normal for somebody to go through all kinds of stuff, and to live through it. He said he was one of the only guys that lived through it. This platoon getting in, he was one of the only guys that didn't die or didn't get shot. Out of probably about 6 guys out of about, they were up by I don't know what they were doing. They were up by companies, and the whole company was wiped out. So he was my friend. He's from Tyler, Texas. He's another guy I would like to look, but I don't even know if he'd know who I was. So I hate to call him up and say, "You don't remember me, do you?" No, I don't. I gotta go now. So he didn't want to talk about it. He wouldn't want to talk about it.
What was you said you had your friend, was it Richardson?
Yeah, Gilbert.
His name was Gilbert Richardson?
Yeah, he's a California guy.
Okay.
Yeah, he was my best friend over there. Well, I had a lot of good friends in my squad, really. They called me Igor. That was my name, Igor.
Who was it, Igor?
Igor. Because I carried everything. I was a strong guy when I was young. And I weighed about 180 pounds. And I could carry anything. They gave me mortar rounds. I carried mortar rounds. I carried anything. They said, "Brian, we got something to carry." All right, give it to me. So I carried it, up hills and down hills. And I saw him, Igor. Yeah, okay, man. Yeah, Igor.
Wow.
Yeah. So don't start calling me Igor.
Okay, I'm gonna try to not remember that.
Yeah, please. Or I'll start calling you Igor.
Okay. As long as it's not Quasimodo.
Yeah, right. What did I get? What is it?
Oh, I think it's in your
Wait,
bag.
it's here.
Oh,
Watch out.
yeah, these are pictures, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, can we look at your pictures?
Yeah. Oh, this was a weird one.
Oh, here, I'm gonna roll forward a little bit, because it's your leg of your chair. There you go.
I can put them right on the table. This one is really
Here, what if we bring this table? Oops. Whoops.
This is really a weird one. Sitting on the pot.
Is that the one?
Oh. Okay, tell us about this one.
It's a toilet.
Yeah.
I'd like to have to go to the bathroom out in the,
Yeah, so this one you go into here, and then this, go see this thing here? This is what they make, see this thing here? This is what they made airplane things out of. That is a word for them. But where they're all airplanes and, actually airplanes and helicopters would land on this stuff. They'd have it all the way. But they also use it for this one, they use kerosene in here to burn it. Burn the crap out of there.
Mhm. That's you.
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Can I take out the next one?
Yeah, I knew it. That's me again. I was probably 19, 20 years old.
Wow. Where are you here?
I don't know where that was. It's probably Bongson. I met a guy from Bongson the same time I was there, who won the Medal of Honor. I was at one of these things. American Legion up in about 12. There's an American Legion there. And I went there because they had some shows about service and what veterans were doing during the war and stuff like that. So I met this guy. He was in 1st Air Cavalry Division. I said, "You're the cab, huh?" He said, "Yeah." So I was too. He said, "Oh, yeah." So we started talking. And somebody said, "You won the Medal of Honor." I said, "Really?" So I started talking to him again. He said, "Yeah." And he said, I said, "Well, do you live out there?" He said, "No, he went up in Lane Tech." He was with his mother and father didn't want him to go there. He wanted to send him out here. So he went out here. And then he had Gurney, there's a bridge that they named after him. And it's named Lynch, something Lynch. David Lynch, I think it is. He's a real nice guy.
Let's see.
and he gave Uncle B a
Oh, yeah, he gave me a little medallion.
little
But,
Medal of Honor,
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it was really cool.
because you were in the same battle that he won the Medal of Honor.
Well, I don't know if it was a battle, but yeah, that's.
Not in the same place, but in the same
Yeah,
battle.
this is out of the helicopter. We were going somewhere. This guy's got bullets. He's carrying probably about 300 rounds of ammunition. And then we're waiting. It looks like we're going to land pretty soon. I don't know though.
What kind of gun is that?
It's an M16. Yeah, M16. And this guy is a smelly guy. He's stuck. And he played football for Purdue. He was a big guy. And he big guy that could run a 100-yard dash in about 10 flat, you know. So, but he was a good soldier, real good soldier. You needed guys like that, you know, rotten people. You needed rotten people. You don't need somebody that's gonna, you know, don't hurt the guy, you know. Don't need that. That's the tank. That was probably Highway 1. And then so we were probably over here somewhere. And they were going through these guys. They opened up their back and about 10 girls would come out of there. I don't know where they were coming from. All the girls were laughing and stuff. Yeah, this is a regular tank. So they used them to knock down forests and stuff like that. You know, where it was real. Well, we did too. Every guy in our unit, not every guy, but every squad had one machete that we'd have to cut down so the choppers could land there. We call them LZs. So you chopped them all down. You made an area about maybe half the size of this place, so the helicopters would land, you know, and give us whatever we needed too, you know. So they were pretty good. Machetes were good because you could cut through anything with those things. That's a picture, that's the same thing. I think this looks like me, tell you the truth.
Mhm.
But that we're all going, we're going somewhere. Probably somewhere, somebody got hit somewhere, so that's us going there.
Were they loud?
Yeah.
Oh, could you tell us about what the weather was like there?
Yeah, it was mainly hot, but you know, it would turn hot and then it would rain, like the monsoons, and it would pour rain for about 20 minutes and stop, and then it would be so hot, you know, it'd be terrible. And then it would start raining again, and it was so good, you know. And it was back and forth when they were having the monsoons. Other than that, it was hotter than hell. You know, at nighttime it was hot too. You know, hot and smelly. That's a flag dress. So you can't read it. It says "Make war, not love," and that's my machine gun I carry. And these got just little. Oh, that looks like a gas mask. Once in a while, they gave us gas masks. We didn't have to wear a black vest all the time, but when we did, they'd bring them in, and we'd have to wear them. Gas mask, the same thing. When we thought we were going to need a gas mask, they gave us gas masks. I don't like that idea. But that would turn out to be a pretty cool picture, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, like this stuff here, they probably would use Agent Orange on. And this is an LZ probably that we knocked down, so choppers could land on there.
What about this?
Oh, this is cool. This is really cool. See, I got this. We all got this somewhere in one of these places I was at. So we all got this from Grant Grammar School, from kids in the school wrote. Can you read it?
Yeah.
Dear veteran, thank you for protecting America. You keep
These kids are really young.
protecting us because you guys are amazing at it. We are amazed by your courage and bravery.
That was pretty cool.
We are proud of you. Thank you.
That was really
That would have been from some school kids, right?
Yeah. I think is Grant got a grammar school?
Yeah.
I think it was from Grant. I think they all came from Grant. A lot of us guys got stuff like that. You know, they just pass
Sincerely,
them out.
Nathan, is it?
Mhm.
But I think it was from Grant.
Fourth grade.
Wow.
That's really nice.
Then they probably do this picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is.
Now, right now, that guy is probably about 40 years old.
Yeah, we'd like to find out who he is.
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't you do that for a while? Find out what people, where they came from and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I'm good at it.
Are ya?
I'll try. Yeah.
Because there was something on TV 2 days ago about that.
Mhm.
Guy, he was an Austrian, and he didn't realize, he thought he was German,
Mhm.
and he was an Austrian. And Bertinelli, I think her name was, she was on that too.
What's this here?
That was during the TED office. See, during the TED office, that's why we built, we didn't have any foxholes there. It was, everything was about.
Those are little tents, right?
Yeah, we made them out of poncho liners. But that's why we didn't dig in very far. And that's me, and that's the new guy that came from Chicago, and he was the next guy to. This was February, probably February 5th. I was ready to go home because he got my machine gun. He didn't like that part of it. But I don't know if this guy's alive or what. But this is the sand, I think. This was making sand, I believe. And that would probably be maybe the South China Sea, part of it.
Were you in the Tet offensive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My whole unit was. You know what? Actually, I wasn't. I was for a little bit. I was, and I went, and they took me out. But my whole company went up there, the way, and that was a terrible battle up there. It was terrible. I was watching that on TV last night.
What's this on the ground? What are those things?
Probably some kind of sundries, food or something like that, I would imagine. This looks like some kind of phone. I don't know what the hell the phone is. Yeah, I remember that. We could build them things in real fast. Of course, we used bamboo, so there must have been bamboo around there. You know, bamboo is I guess you can eat it or something.
Well, the pandas, that's the only thing they do, eat pandas.
Yeah,
They only eat bamboo.
bamboo, huh? That was well, there's Igor.
So I'm sure people can eat it. In other words, it's not poisonous or anything.
Yeah, right. It was kind of blew my mind.
What's this here?
That something must have happened there. Must have got hit or something. Then there we go. Whoop. Then we get planes flying in there and dropping bombs. It looks like some guys are down here, just waiting for it. Make sure that they're hitting the right spot. Yeah. Somewhere I'm getting ready to go up in the mountains. Looks like they're coming from the valley. And that's at the foothills of the mountains. We have a lot of mountains in this, right? Whoop. We got that's another. That's a chopper. That's when I first got there, because I can tell by the uniforms. They were all like together. When I went to cavalry, one pants leg would be up there, it was crazy. Yeah. I was in good shape then. I was in good shape no matter what. I don't know where this was. But it looked like I was kind of big there too.
What's this here?
That's our guns that we carried. That's Gilbert Richardson right there. And these are all guns that we use. That's a grenade launcher. That's the one that hit that guy in the trees. And the rucksacks, whatever we carried. Maybe food, clothes. We were lucky if we had any clothes. We could one sack. If we were lucky, we got one sack. Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm surprised they don't have their weapons there. Because wherever you went, you had to have a weapon. Then they actually went to a lot of these LZs that were already there. They'd have a bar, not a bar, but a place where you could buy booze at the bottom of the hills. And everybody had a gun when they went into a tavern, if we want to call it a tavern. But everybody would have a gun, and nothing would happen. You go there and you lay your pistol or rifle on the bar, and nothing happened. And it was loaded with live ammunition. It's crazy. And I carried a machine gun, so I had a .45. I didn't have to carry a M16. Gilbert. You don't look too happy.
Do you remember where he was from in California?
Glendale. I think it was Glendale. Do you know anything about California?
Yeah, you know what? I have a friend who lives in Glendale,
Did you really?
Danny Labuda. His mom was the last library director.
Is that where she's living?
Yes.
kidding me.
No,
If Jennifer can get that, Brian.
She was the last what?
library director.
Is-
How long ago?
8 years ago, she
Oh.
retired, and her son just moved out to California to be an actor.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's where he lives.
Everybody wants to be an actor, you know?
Mhm.
He'd be
You
a
don't
good-
even have to be, you can just be yourself and be an actor.
Right, right.
Huh.
Well, thank you for
What
bringing
is this
these.
thing? Yeah.
This is the microphone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's fancy, huh?
Yeah. Good kidding.
So anything else you want to add?
I can't think of anything.
Thank you very much for doing
You
this.
did a good job, Brian.
Yeah, really good. Wow, you transported me with your stories.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, really good. Really
I'm
good.
glad, because I don't think it was that good.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, did a really good job.
Should I go ahead and stop it? Is that okay?
I don't care.